Hello, everybody. Welcome to Freedom Friday. I have one of my favorite human beings on the planet with me, Shaman Susan Cotter. You have, I went on your Playful Soul site and all the beautiful journeys that you've been on. I'm like, okay, so intuitive coach, psychic medium. There was a whole bunch of other things. And then there's something that you just mentioned to me that I know we're going to get to that I'm super excited to hear about. But one of the main reasons I wanted to have you with me today is because of my personal experience I had with Qoya and how much it resonated with my own practice and how I integrate it in many different ways in life. The central theme that, there's several central themes that I want to touch upon. The concept that movement is medicine. Yes. And that's undeniable. You don't have to be a spiritual practice to know that moving the body feels good. That if you're experiencing intense stress or stagnation, moving the body feels good.
And if you want to test that, go to YouTube, Dora the Explorer, the hokey pokey.
The hokey pokey.
The hokey pokey, 4.5 minutes. You'll know that's something that we've taught for since we've been
You
child.
used that in class once, and I was so grateful because Dora was a staple in my house with my daughter who's now 16.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, that idea that movement is medicine, but beyond that, the concept of deepening our connection with movement, to use it as an intentional practice, moving, all of us know, yes, we just talked about kind of more traditional ways of moving, but also just dance. You know how good it feels, like if you're celebrating something or you just move in that place of joy.
Yes.
But the same goes for those more challenging situations when we're in those stressful, sad, intense moments. Moving our body in that experience actually becomes healing.
Yes.
And that piece of Qoya, where we give equal attention and hold space for both sides. This has been a huge focus over the past week, having the equinox.
Yep.
That meeting point between the shadow and the light, and looking at both in equal measure and respect, and seeing what both have to offer each other. So I'd love for you to speak to that in your experience with Qoya and also in your practice.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So hello, everyone. I'm Susan, and I so appreciate the opportunity that all that you bring to each of us and community and the collective of and the wisdom of a circle. So I know that even though we're in this little box, we're in a circle that you have just made so precious and solid. So thank you. And that's part of that, the day and the night, and how they have that reminder that there is always night and day and night, literally mixed in that. So with Qoya, as well as my own teaching and my own practice, I sometimes look at day and night like alpha omega, the feminine and the masculine within each one of us, and how do we, as our good friend London Winters, would speak of, the agility of that. And dancing without the need for performance or production or movement, like breathing without needing to, not many of us count how many breaths we took for the day. Did I produce enough? But rather, am I willing to open up to the breath, or am I willing to open up to the moment, whether it's and how those elements teach us. And, of course, this moment, in the right now moment, we're still mostly equal. It's not fully one overtaking the other. So in that, we might want to ask ourselves, am I balanced, or am I simply working? Am I giving myself that medicine of movement? And that stretches for me. So some people think that movement is just the body. And I find that it's one of the one that our culture knows the best. We think that movement means let's dance, let's run, let's aerobic, let's do these things. But it's not that for me. For me, it's the nature. If you really want to know, I think Eckhart Tolle said, study a cat. Go live with a cat. You want to know who you are, and whether it's a cat or a dog or another animal that is your favorite, or just nature. Nature has a way of teaching us, and if we would opportunity invitation take 1 week, just 1 week, and this opportunity and invitation was just given to me yesterday. As Melissa was saying, my journeys always lead me to somebody saying, hey, what about this? And my next what about this is the Quero, Q apostrophe UERO. They're elders from Peru, and in their language, literally in their language, there's no conflict. So when the invitation was to study nature for 1 week, the invitation was recognize a part of nature that you would say, this is my father. Recognize a part of the nature that you would say, this is my mother. Could be Pachamama, Mother Earth. And recognize a part of the nature that is water. And begin to devote 5 to 20 minutes daily for 1 week. Gratitude. Truly notice how virtually everything in your life comes from nature. Everything. You fuel your car, comes from nature. The metal, the plastics even, everything, whatever chemical balance it is made of, comes from this planet. And so when we have that, and you go just a tiniest bit greater with the alchemy of our own body, we inhale something that's called air, and it immediately turns into oxygen. And we exhale a carbon for the planet. So to recognize that we are all one in any way that you can do that, and then move how the body wants to move with that oneness. So the invitation was, and if there's 2 of you, and in my household, there's just 1 of me, so I sit up against a tree, but 2 people could sit back to back, and their tails, their spines could energetically go in and then up through the crown and then back and start cycling that. So one of my nature bits, of course, is the planet, the Pachamama, so I can lay on the ground and feel that, or I can sit by a tree. If yours is a hill or a mountain, then I encourage you to let that energy flow. And once again, that is a dance created.
It wants us to give ourselves attention.
Yes, yes, yes. And the beauty of Mother Earth giving attention to is that if I'm giving you my attention, whatever I think I need moves. And something else, usually called love or gratitude, gets planted. And once love and gratitude is active and moving, then no matter who I'm with, we both get to share and experience love and gratitude. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah, so it's beautiful. So we think of this idea of movement at every level, movement at spirit level, mind level, the body level, it's all interconnected. So when we're moving at the level of our bodies with intention, we can open up to that highest level. And then we can also be using our thoughts intentionally. We can be opening to the level of spirit. So all these different ways of connecting in that can be so deeply healing, because the truth of it all is it's all about flow and it's all about love. and welcoming that in,
Mhm.
which requires an opening.
It's the invitation.
Wow, that's so so beautiful. I would love to hear, because for so many of us, the intensities and the heaviness of these times can feel like a challenge. Like, how can I dance with that? Like, what would be your invitation to people who are just feeling like they're stuck?
Yeah, yeah. The beauty of that question is I asked almost the exact same question yesterday to these 5 elders. And my question was similar, except I was asking about death. I was asking, how do you move from something, not even just move from it, but how do you allow the pain to weave itself in this dance? Because there's no getting over it, around it, or through it, contrary to popular belief. And I I do believe we're not stuck with it, that it's part of the teaching. And certainly there are some ceremonies that are really helpful. And part of it is whether it's a death or in these trying times, just as you said, where we're seeing so many almost polar opposites.
Mhm.
No matter, it's beyond, you say tomato, I say tomato. It seems beyond that. Part of the rituals would be to mourn whatever that pain is, truly.
Like, fully feeling it.
Fully feeling it, ideally with others that are also feeling their pain. So I don't have to come to you for your, like, all of us have some pain out there.
Mhm.
So we can come in and help each other nurture the self,
The whole self.
the whole self. And I know you and I were speaking just a few minutes earlier. The Karo, there's no language for contrast or a fight or an argument
Or shadow and light.
or shadow and light.
It's oneness.
It's all one. So when we can fully embrace even the death of someone that we love, along with some of these, well, COVID, and these things that we think we shouldn't have to do, and understand, or at least be open to, at least be curious, what would it feel like if I were willing to be more of that solution, more of that opening. And with these rituals, the one that I'm speaking of in that full on this hurts, it's often that we also, and part of the ritual is you bring food that is like, throw all the things of that out the window, like no sugar, not like throw it out the window. Like, if it's your favorite thing, you bring it. And then you mourn, and the next day you celebrate and you eat the food. You celebrate that we have allowed it to integrate, that it is part of us for an experience. We often say things like, I've been through trauma. We all hear it. But the truth is, we don't go through trauma any more than we go through arguments. I've been through an argument. I've been through anger. We go through an experience, and trauma sits with us until we can sort of like just take a little bit of it and go, what about this experience is trauma? Versus just saying quick, I've been through trauma. We even have PTSD. We even call it post-traumatic stress, like it's a trauma. And I'm not saying that somebody that we I'm not disclaiming that we don't have trauma. I'm simply suggesting or giving another invitation of how we frame it. How we frame it. We know about the story and how that impact can be.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and I'm also not here to say this is super easy. In 8 days you're done. um, I wish I did have that formula. I would be like giving it away for free because it really is something that I am, have got my own clawing through story of loss and trauma, of loss and the experience of trauma through the loss. And I am though so willing to lay on the earth, to open up to Pachamama, to say thank you, whether it's for a ruby or the fuel that's got me here with my car. I am willing to say thank you for the carrots and thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for you. And thank you for the event that I had the thought of there was loss. The more I learn and know, I recognize, just like anything that's of the earth will go back to the earth. And I believe that's also true with our belief system. How do we alchemize, or how do we let some of those painful beliefs that hold us in a true vice grip? And when we're in that kind of pain, sometimes it is necessary for somebody to say, hey, there's some medicine. Let's move and just see how we feel. Let's just be curious. How would peace feel if peace could get in? How might love move the body if the body could accept just a fraction of love in and amidst the pain? Versus saying, I'm so bad, I'm so wrong. It's been 3 months or 3 years or 33 years. But just how can I be curious? Where would that be in my body if I did feel in the right now moment what love felt like?
So one of the things that just hit me was everything is love. The root of it, everything is love. And these women that you've been studying with, they've gotten to some place of literal conscious embodiment and connection in their belief systems of seeing that. So part of the invitation, if the grief, if the trauma, if the pain, if the suffering, a part of it, if its essence of love has just been forgotten, inviting love in, even just a teeny fraction, or as I've spoken with another woman, opening the door just a little crack to let the light in. It's just like, yes. It's just the alchemy, the transformation that becomes possible as we invite it in. And allow, for each of us that process is unique, but staying open, because with the love also comes the light, the consciousness, the direction, the support, that it's there to show you how you can continue. Like once it opens up, I just see it like, because that's its purpose. And it wants to reveal its purpose. That's its destiny, to show you that possibility that as heavy as it is, it can be transformed. As heavy as it is. As heavy as it is. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. So I know we kind of like, we use the word Koya. For some of you may not be familiar with what Koya is. And isn't Koya is it a Peruvian word as well? Yes. It means queen, but not like the bejeweled type, but the type of the divine feminine, or the omega, that all are welcome here. We leave nothing out. And the invitation is always that you would come with who you are, and you would leave
knowing more of who you are.
Mhm.
And it's a movement practice that, again, we often draw on those resources from the wisdom of yoga, contemplation, meditation, really just putting your feet in the great Mother Earth and feeling that and truly going into the wisdom of something as simple as your feet.
Yeah. The other piece that I feel is really important is the connection, the container, the sacred space of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond just going to a class where you're going to go in and you're going to do movement, there's conscious intentional sharing.
Yes.
There's an intention and an energy of the class, and there's what each person offers, whether it's with their words or not, if they're not willing to share. But there's a level I call my students to in their practice, like there's something very important in the process of transformation, this process we were speaking about of healing from our grief and our trauma, of giving voice to it when you are ready to give voice to it. So that's another piece of the movement.
Yes.
Is that expression.
Yes.
Of the embodiment of the experience. Both sides.
Yes.
Both sides, the shadow and the light.
It's that wise, wild, and free essence of what Qoya often speaks of. And in the wisdom, if you could imagine that we're braiding hair, wise, wild, and free. And anytime you have a braid, the ancestral wisdom teaches us that it's strength. And so through that strength of the physical movement, the emotional movement, the mental movement, the spiritual movement, we all become stronger. And at all times inside of you, what is that expression? Whether it's the voice or the silence, they're the same. Whether it is, somebody could be literally running around the room, and that's their expression. Somebody else could be going deep within themselves. So in this space that's held, the invitation, of course, is that you are within the embodiment of whatever it is that's moving you in the moment. The practice is always, is there anything that you can do in this right now moment that would make this feel better? And that's something you can do right now. Like, is there just even in seating, or do I like this tea, or am I just drinking it because I made it? Right? Am I going to give myself permission to throw the tea out? I don't even want that. I'm thankful for it, and I really want this other thing. And so sometimes that's us. Like, will I, am I allowing myself to have a different thought? And so in that safe space of Qoya, the practice for that hour and a half, if you choose to share verbally or your voice, then we all simply trust you with all your own wisdom, your wildness, and your own freedom. And we are there to listen. There's no advice giving because you're not broken. There's no advice giving because you already know it. So we're just there to hold it and identify whatever the gift is for us. And that's what I find more often than not when someone's sharing, I notice a gift that they opened in me.
Yes.
And not so different than what you said a little bit earlier when you said, wow, that really hit me or opened me in that. And I know that that's often the phrase we use, and I'm beginning to notice it sort of comes from the inside. Yeah. But we speak as if it's from the outside, but it's a noticing that we shook something loose so we could see what was already there.
Right. So yeah, looking at relationship. Everything is in connection and relationship, right? So it's like we are all mirroring each other all the time. And the journey is always about the connection and the relationship with self. Yeah. So using those, very intentionally in that kind of container, but also realizing that we're playing that out all the time. So I want to give a little shout out that it was inspired in the summertime when we did the solstice celebration. We had a beautiful immersive event where we were dancing in the shadow and the light in a different way than the equinox. It was Juneteenth, summer solstice. So there were a lot of different energies at play. Celebrating together with Qoya,
Yes.
and drumming and yoga, and the relationship, the connection and the mirroring and the healing that happened over the course of that day was profound.
It really was,
if you
including
weren't-
the music. It was
including the
live
music.
music.
It's like, yeah, it was the first time.
First time I had ever worked with live music. First time, because Koya and the playlist
Yes.
is they're tight, close friends. They're tight in a relationship. So I had only met one of the drummers prior to that, and so it was really talk about having to let go of my own thoughts and how this is supposed to look in a class where I say it doesn't matter how it looks, it just matters how it feels. And so
It's magical.
yeah. So from that
we have birthed an event that's starting on Saturday, tomorrow, and it's an immersion, and it's all about this concept of relationship. So what we're recreating is a similar kind of feel and vibe, where there will be multiple different practitioners weaving in, content and movement. And actually, when I started sending out the messaging, Adam Riviera, who was
the drummer,
he reached out to me and he said, "Can I be there? I would love to support you." I'm like, "Yes, please. We hadn't thought about that. Definitely." So there'll be a piece of this we've at the barn. So on the same property where we were at. So in that space where we have both sides of the barn wide open, it's going to be live for the first 6 hours on October 2nd. And then we'll have 2 virtual events in between, where we'll be continuing to support, really diving into these concepts on relationship, in particular what you touched upon, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, alpha, omega, and the bigger picture of stepping into the oneness of all of that.
Yes.
Which is what our closing event in November will be all about, another 6-hour immersion. So details will be in the comments on that. And then I'm so excited to continue to witness and participate in whatever, as you continue. That's what I love about Susan as a Qoya instructor, is that, of course, any instructor is going to bring their experience to their sacred space. So as you continue to open up into all these things, that's just a whole other level that the practice will go to. Even the way you were describing, the way it's showing up.
Yes.
She teaches at the Playful Soul, and I'll put her information in the comments as well.
I'd love to see you.
Yes,
And thank you
thank you so much for sharing with us today. And any final comments? We shared so much.
I know.
That was beautiful.
I believe my only thought is the invitation to be open, to be the self. And as I'm learning through these wonderful, wise elders, truly that all things are one. And if we can but allow the wisdom of pain to also have its own wildness and freedom, I found that it always leads me to joy. If I'm willing to let it lead me versus thinking I know what it is.
Got it.
Thank
Beautiful.
You.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Yeah.